So we got bad news for Joe Biden here. New poll, Biden approval craters 11 points among Democrats. 11. That's a big number. A new Gallup poll shows a double-digit drop in President Joe Biden's job approval rating among his own party in the aftermath of the October 7th Hamas terrorist attacks in Israel. The poll was conducted between October 2nd and October 23rd, with Democrats giving Biden a score of 75% approval in his job performance, down 11 points from 86 in September. That drop also caused his overall approval rating from all of those polled to drop to 37%, down from 41% last month. Gallup says that this is the fourth time their poll showed Biden's overall approval dropping below 40% during his presidency. After the Hamas terrorist attacks, Biden made very clear that he and his administration unwaveringly supported Israel, and he visited the country to drive the point home. But Gallup notes that support didn't go over well with some more liberal Democrats. Biden has faced criticism from some members of his party for aligning too closely with Israel and not doing enough for the Palestinians. Some prominent Democratic lawmakers and protesters around the U.S. have called for Biden to do more to help the millions of Palestinians who are in need of humanitarian aid as Israel attempts to eradicate Hamas. Gallup also states that Biden's numbers from Democrats are lower than former President Donald Trump's numbers from Republicans. That's a big deal. This is a big deal. So I've been making the argument on the show for a while now that I don't buy Cenk Uyghur's line, for example, when he says there's literally no way Biden can win. Like, he thinks it's game, set, match. It's already in stone. It's over. He can't win. Now, myself and many others during the Democratic primary the last time around said the same thing, that Biden's going to lose to Trump. He can't win. So don't, forget about it. It's already over. And we were wrong. Now, look, as we got closer to the election and I saw the polling numbers, I flipped my opinion and I said I actually think Biden's going to win, and I thought he'd win by over 300 electoral college votes, and he did. But for a long time, the left was arguing he just can't win. And so now I see a certain degree of certitude among those who think Biden can't win, and it just rubs me the wrong way because he's up against a guy with 91 criminal charges against him and a guy who is a massive electoral liability in his own respect, with all of his election denialism and the fact that he's a psycho and he says things like suspend the Constitution, and all of his own hand-picked candidates got obliterated in the midterms. And I mean, I can go on and on and on. But I said all of that stuff before this new round of polling. And when I look at this new round of polling, even I'm at the point now where I'm like, if it was 55% before, 55% chance Biden wins, 45% chance Trump wins, now we're looking at maybe 60-40 in the other direction. 60% Trump wins, 40% Biden wins. Because he was already kind of barely hanging on, but you're going to lose some core constituencies with how he's treating this war. So young people do not agree with him. Do not agree with the, green light for Israel to massacre innocent civilians. They don't agree with that. They think it's disgusting. And I think young voters are correct on that front. And also, you have Arab Americans and Muslim Americans. They're absolutely going to flee too as a result of this. And those are some very important constituencies in some very key swing states. And so, man, this is not he's failing massively. Putting aside, which we shouldn't, but the moral and ethical considerations of the conflict and Biden's role in it, even just from an electoral perspective, this is a disaster. Because the whole notion of being really over the top, massively pro-Israel, you have to understand that is mostly a thing in Washington, D.C. It's the impact of AIPAC and J Street and the Israel lobby. And so there's ideological and financial motivations pushing these politicians to be very, very pro-Israel, no matter what they do. But among the American public, they're going to have way more nuanced opinions when they see Israel carpet bombing women and children, which is exactly what's happening. Over 8,000 dead in Gaza, not allowing in anywhere near enough aid that they need. Over 2,000 children dead. People are going to see that and they're going to be like, this is gross. And we are actively backing and facilitating and arming this. All right, so I got more for you. This is an Axios. Behind the curtains, Biden's horror shows. President Biden's White House is stuck in a split-screen reality. Spiraling war threats overseas and spiraling political problems at home. Both are horror shows for re-election. Top officials believe Biden has been at his best in managing the early days of the Israeli-Hamas war. Agree to disagree. But they privately concede that things have never been worse politically since the 80-year-old took office. It's hard to see how to brighten his public image on issues haunting the American public. Crime, immigration, inflation, race, trust, and now 2 divisive wars America didn't start. Biden's top aides are deeply frustrated and somewhat bitter, said one backer in frequent touch with the West Wing. They think he's doing a great job, and by many measures he is. But private polls show the same hurdle as public ones. Brutally and stubbornly low popularity broadly and on topics animating voters. He's tied or trailing former President Trump nationally and in swing states, even though Trump was indicted 4 times on 91 felony counts and is spending many days in court. Biden gets crushed on his handling of immigration, crime, inflation, none of which will likely turn around in time to put a new spring in his step. It's not death by one issue, but by half a dozen hitting at once. The load-bearing wall breaks, one Biden official conceded. Many of Biden's own voters don't want him to run, a daunting design flaw for a re-election campaign. His popularity with his own supporters hit a new low in a poll this past week. Democrats are divided over Israel. Election day is 53 weeks away, and Biden needs to excite young voters, black voters, and Hispanic voters. His core constituency is unlikely to vote for Trump, but Democrats are concerned about a combination of voters staying home or backing a third-party candidate. Dems won in 2020 because of massive turnout. Now, many of Biden's base voters are over him. To try to rev them up, Democrats plan to lean into Trump, abortion, and rising cultural issues, including book bans. What's happening in the Middle East and Biden signing off on it is destroying him and destroying his campaign and destroying his ability to win. He's weathered a lot of other storms, right? All the talk about his age and he's unfit. Stuff about inflation and the economy. Well, inflation is lower and going down, and the economy in terms of the jobs numbers are not bad. They're not really good paying jobs, but the unemployment rate is very, very low. There's been a number of things that people thought, oh, this is going to be the thing that really tanks him, and he weathered a lot of those storms. But now you are co-signing the slaughter of innocent civilians, and it's being funded with our tax dollars. Young people aren't buying it, and Muslim Americans and Arab Americans are not buying it. And I think this actually is a real issue for him. The moral and the ethical consideration should come first, but putting those aside, the political considerations right now are disastrous, and this is going to have many, many real-world consequences, and I don't know if they're up to the task to address it. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.